I'm on my way somewhere, and I'm going to see Greg and Susie at Nature's Image Farms, and I should be there in about 25 minutes. That is so neat. I really like that setup though.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of opportunities, and of course you can close them down as you want with the dials. We're going to put it through the ringer this year for sure. It's been nice so far to use it just for mated queens, let them kind of grow out. A lot of what we do is we'll show you when we get into the backpack. I use a whole section of colonies just as cell builders, and then once I kind of exhaust the cell builders, I end up moving cells or the queen out. It gives me a chance to take some of my prized queens, ones that I want to either watch or take a look at, and I can just put them in these compartments and babysit them. So they don't have they don't need an orientation flight. But what we're going to do to really put it through the ringer is drop cells in all 12 all at the same time, and then trying to get an idea of drift, orientation flights. Are they able to come back and see with this orientation how well they'll actually do that tight?
So you've got two frames in each queen compartment, correct? Is that how you have it set up?
Yep.
Two?
And these ones are kind of neat. You'll have to forgive me on this one because I was a knucklehead and I which is all the time, but I was putting this thing, getting this thing ready during a day we had like 50-mile-an-hour winds. It was rainy and windy, and I thought, well, I'll just get this ready for queens. And I opened this thing up, and I opened it up and then set all my frames and everything in here, and then a huge gust of wind came and caught the whole thing.
Oh man.
But I'll just kind of hold the lid. But what's neat about it is, you know, we take a quart jar and then drill 2 holes on either side, and then what you'll notice is then you can have 2 separate colonies going at the same time. 2 frames with that divider, you know, kind of going right over top, and you can kind of it's easily get in and kind of see what they're doing.
That's really cool.
And this gives a nice, right now we can see they're bringing in a ton of nectar, a ton of pollen. They're doing a pretty good job so far. I see a lot of larvae. She's doing great. A lot of eggs. Yeah, it's a neat little snapshot. You got to be careful though too. These work so well that you do have to kind of stay on top of them because they can get plugged up quick. And then the last thing in the world you want to do is have, you know, a 2-frame colony like this want to swarm on you.
Oh yeah.
But that's the neat thing about it. It does work out good. It is a nice snapshot. But today you can see, look at all the pollen they're bringing in.
Look at that.
A lot of pollen, a lot of nectar. They're doing real well. Yep, so she's doing good, making a lot of brood. So these are nice because you can just have little colony snapshots. If you want to babysit or watch a queen, make a split. It's kind of nice. You can have 2 frames on either side of that divider. Divider goes back down over top. It splits it right down the center, and then your quart jar. You can actually use the same quart jar, feed both sides. So it's cool. But I'm looking forward to putting it through the ringer and actually see what happens when we drop cells in all 12 and see if how they come back, how they get mated, things like that. This one is the one I think has a lot of opportunity for folks, because in this one what we've showed folks to be able to do is we can take this year what we did is we actually installed packages in this one. We installed a package in this compartment, a package in this compartment, and then we took a package and did package splits. So we took a package, split it in half on each side to give us 4 queens, 4 colonies, and then 2 large colonies here to start to work with. What's neat about that is we can create extra queens as the year develops. As this colony grows, we can rob a frame of brood, a frame of food, a fresh frame, put those into these splits here, drop a queen cell, or play to the strength of a colony that's wanting to swarm and making those beautiful swarm cells, pull that frame with the swarm cell out, put it in these compartments, close the dial on the outside for a day or two, keep them ventilated, let them make their own colony. And what you're able to do within the same piece of equipment is not only can you raise a beautiful colony that you can have a yield, but you can make backup queens for yourself or for your community. You can work on making extra nukes to help cash flow your operation, all from the same piece of equipment without having to stack and unstack boxes, needing this, needing that. It's a really handy way to where anybody can start to raise a colony and actually make splits off of it within the same piece of equipment.
Same piece of equipment.
And you can make yourself the extra queens, the extra nukes, the extra resource colonies. I don't care how many colonies you raise, even if it's only 2. Having a backup queen on hand is a really smart move, because it's really hard sometimes. A lot of folks will call us looking for queens and we're sold out until July or sometimes August. To start to be able to have your own queens on hand, on demand, I think is a big deal, and it's pretty important. So
that's really cool.
This lighthouse hive has been tremendous, and of course we are partial to this one. This is the area where the storm came through after we put the last grass of the season into it last year. The storm came through and knocked out everything in this area, and then down through the ridge it just blew them to smithereens, except for this stood, which was awesome because all the queens that we needed to fix everything was right here in this colony. So it's a pretty cool setup.
That is so cool. I know. I so enjoyed talking to Ricky when he and Ruth and what's their little girl's name? Amber? Not Amber, I think. Anyway, they came by and visited with me, and I was like, man, I want one of those. But I couldn't decide which the configuration.
There's so many different options.
But I'm thinking, maybe start with something like this and have a resource hive and then build upon it, and then have your queen compartments over there.
Exactly.
And then as if we do start rearing queens, then maybe get another one strictly for queen castles.
And even something like this, you're making 4 queens at a time. And if you're on a 21-day cycle, even you're making 4 queens every 21 days. How many queens do you need? Even if you want to start to grow it and figure it out, what's nice about this is even if you have some extra colonies and you don't want to use the colony that's in the other side to support that, you can pull those resources from anywhere else you want and drop them right in these compartments, and anybody can make 4 extra queens for sale, or build those colonies out as a nuke. Now you can really start to cash flow your operation, no matter the size of it. But more importantly, you're having that learning opportunity out of a kind of a risk mitigated situation where you can put the queen cell in or the swarm cell in one of those compartments, and then see that whole entire thing through. And if you like it and you gravitate towards it and it makes sense to you and you want to pursue that further, now you have a stepping stone, a launching point to where you understand, here's the timing from this queen cell, here's when I should have eggs, here's when everything is sealed off, and that gives you a nice window in time to say, okay, well here, I can make 4 queens on these 21-day cycles, and you figure out, do you need more queens than that? Okay, if so, all right, what does the next step look like? If you need 12 queens every 21-day cycles, and you want to have a designated box and you only want 12 queens, now you can get into another configuration like this, and then you can go a million different ways. What's nice about it, as you look out across here, there's I think today we're right around 300, maybe a little over 300 colonies here before we get them all spread out to their out yards to grow for the rest of the year. Every other queen box we have here is a bottom board, is a lid, is a box, is the frames, is a feeder for every one of those situations. And they're valuable, and it's important to have all these different kind of configurations, but to go up from the next level, from here to that, is quite an investment, not only in time but equipment and resources to do it. Something like this you can get into with a really acceptable investment and be making a lot of queens and nukes pretty quickly without having to figure out all the nuances of, do I want a 3-frame box? Do I want a 2-frame box? Do I want a 5-frame box divided in half? Do I want a 10-frame box divided in 3? Do I want a mini mate nuke? Do I want a mate? There's so many options. You can get lost in the weeds before you get started and never find your way out.
Yeah.
This, I think, just makes it really easy for absolutely anybody. If you can pull a frame of bees out of a box, you can make a split, you can make a queen, you can make a nuke in this kind of a...
and probably not run into the problem that I had with those mini mating nukes and them absconding, because all they did was went right back to the colony.
Right.
That's neat.
Yep.
That's very neat. I'm getting a one-on-one in the learning yard.
That's pretty. So that's that
Cool.
one. So we raise a bunch of extra queens here. Where I like this one is we get, like, if someone just drives in, hey, do you have any queens, or it's someone here locally, I can go right out to here rather than having our weekly queen pools, or if we pull queens twice a week and ship. I know I always have backup queens, and I'm always keeping this charged for those 1 or 2 or 3 queen customer that wants to come up. So that's where that one's kind of handy.
Yeah.
And the rest of the learning yard here is we're showing folks, we're installing packages in all of these different configurations, but we can show folks what's that look like when we install a package in 5-frame boxes and stack them up, or 10-frame equipment, or 8-frame equipment. And then the Apame, we've kind of been holding off for something special. And would you believe it, yesterday, 7 o'clock at night, Jake's mowing the back pasture out there, and he calls in and says, Dad, there's a swarm here on this autumn olive in case you want to get it. And I'm thinking, oh, not really, but curiosity, you know, and it got the best. And I'm trying to figure out, oh, great, are they my bees? Are they bees out here from the trees? And so we'll go out and I'll show you those, and maybe we'll get into one of those and see who's the baby mama of this swarm. We're gonna get in there and
the
see.
Baby mama.
If I get in there and we find a yellow dot queen, Susie, she's gonna get after me for our maintenance here. But hopefully we get in there and we find an unmarked old queen who came from the trees here.
Because Greg has every last one of his queens marked.
I do.
So if there's a marked queen in the swarm, he's going to get in trouble.
I'll take full responsibility. Yeah. Either way, I got to take responsibility for it, because I either let them swarm and do their thing, which ordinarily I would do. We've been through every colony now, putting our Hive Alive pollen patties on, keeping the feed on them, putting the frames on, growing them up, growing them out. We've been in them so frequently, we even though there's 300 colonies or so here, we know what is what. And with the ones that are getting big, or we think might be heading off where they could be potentially swarming, we kind of already know that. And so when we start to see swarms, I immediately go out to the ones that I think are the problem childs. And when there's not, and there's no cells, I'm thinking, these knuckleheads will just always keep us on our toes. Even when we think we've got it all figured out and everything managed to a T. We're personally on 102 acres in a area where we have state forest land, and we're surrounded by nothing but hills and forest and ravines and creeks and lakes. And I mean, there's wild bees everywhere out here. So
it is absolutely
beautiful. We ought to go out there
here.
and take a look at those swarms and see what we see. Maybe along the way we'll stop into one of the cell
I
builders
just,
there.
it's just that would be such a pretty painting. It's just, you can see just bees as far as the eye can see. That's probably what, a mile back there.
It is. And I'll show you what's there's a lot of folks out there that make great queens, and I in no way posture and say that we make the absolute best queens out there. But what's interesting, when we get out to the top of the ridge here, you'll see we have drone mating areas set up that from where we launch our queens off, it's a half a mile in all directions that is on our land, that has the drones and genetics that we want specifically staged. So when you sit on some of these hills and look out, you'll see that hill, you'll see this one, this one, this one, and that's where we congregate and intentionally put our drones in those areas. So when our queens lift off, no matter which way they decide to go,
they're going to be
mated by the
drones.
genetics that we want.
That is so cool.
And I think that's really what makes our queens so good, is they have such an incredible mating opportunity with that diversity. Yep. So we'll go out there, take a look at some of those cell builders, see what they're looking like. And then today I'm more interested in seeing, I just have to know. I feel like it's we're on like Maury Povich, you know, we got the thing, and you are not the, yeah, we're going to see who the mother is on a couple of these colonies here. And
Cool.
yeah, we'll kind of go from there. So let's get a smoker and we'll hop in the buggy and go
Cool.
for a ride.
Let's do it.
Prized queen do all the work.
Yeah.
Well, all 11 of these splits are just that. Coming out of the spring here, about a week ago, our Caucasians finally decided they want to build up and start putting queen cells on, finally. And when she did, she's one of my favorite queens in the world. So what do? Made 11 splits.
There you go.
And these are all swarm queen cells from one of my most prized queen.
Oh, wow.
So now what we'll do is we'll monitor these 11 queens as they grow and mature and go through the rest of the year and go through the winter time, and just cherry pick the best of them to graft from
Oh, yeah.
next year. But that's a pretty easy way to make splits and queens. Let the bees do all the work.
Let them do the work.
Yeah.
That's what Grayson was.
Conservation Club just put some bees out there on their property.
All the wildflowers. Is that feverfew?
Daisy fleabane, I think.
Fleabane. Okay.
Yeah. All these are just all different configurations and sizes of some early queen mating boxes. Kind of make these ones real heavy. They have plenty of population for the queen cells. All the queens get mated. And of course, you got to have your stashes of equipment nearby. No matter what you do, really can't avoid that.
Nope. Doesn't matter how careful you try to be to put them all in the storage shed, it ain't gonna work.
A bunch more there.
Oh yeah, on the orientation flights.
Yeah.
I can sit there and watch that all day.
Good luck. We'll look out for these locusts here, see how far we are. Last year we got lucky and had a really good locust bloom, which was the first time in a long time. But on both sides of the ridge, all the way down, there's just lots.
So these are all locusts, the black
right here,
locusts.
these are all black locusts right here. And
Oh wow.
we're still a little ways off, so probably 10 to 14 days, which is interesting because everything else is coming. The fleabane, a lot of other ground flowers are in. Right here is the autumn olive. That's been
That
full
smells
for.
so good.
Yeah. Yep.
Is that the autumn olive?
It is. Yep.
Oh,
it
that
has a
smells good.
real bright floral nose to it, especially when the wind blows across there. And the bees just go to town bringing that in. It's going to be a really good year, I think, for nectar flow again. Too good, because we're already seeing some of the colonies are already getting nectar bound, pollen bound too. But a lot of orientation flights today.
Yeah, they're busy. Busy little bees.
Yep.
It does. It just smells so good.
And you can see all the dandelion heads. They've already
I noticed that coming up. I was like, oh wow,
flush.
they're in their second blooming already.
In the woods, you'll see the dogwoods are still in bloom.
Oh yeah. That's neat to see dogwoods in bloom in May. Because ours usually bloom in March.
These couple little sections of colonies here are just cell builders. We'll just build them up, get our grafts on them, and just keep rotating them through. And then you'll see the boxes stacked. We'll just start emptying them, thinning them out, and those move out to nukes and splits, run queens in them at a time.
You know, fleabane's supposed to be good for headaches if y'all have people that have
really?
headaches. Yeah.
these ones we kind of have to be careful on, because a lot of these are some of our what I would consider prized genetics, with the queens that we watch and watch and watch, and we kind of use them in a twofold scenario where we get them and kind of jam them up to where they're on the verge of swarming, meaning they have a ton of drones. So we're saturating all the areas with drones, but while they're also building up, we also get several rounds of cell building out of them. So
neat.
in this one here, you can see we're down to an excluder. We just flipped it after taking off the double screen board. So what I'm curious today is to get in here and take a look at and see what our grafting take looks like in this colony.
Nice.
So let's take a look here.
Isn't that pretty?
Let's see, 1, 2, 3. I guess let's count the misses because they're all on. Looks like they might even be working on that one still.
Yeah, it looks like they are.
Okay, there was one miss.
Very cool. Just one miss.
Yep,
maybe two.
That's not too bad,
That's
is it?
pretty good. And how many total were there?
45. Yep.
Cool.
We pretty much run 30 for the first rounds of in the cell builder. Then we go to 45. And then like right now, beautiful white wax. They're well fed, plenty of nutrition. The bees look nice and vibrant, have a lot of luster to them. And you can see they're really going to town drawing those out. So that was probably 43, maybe 44 out of 45 or so.
Look at that one right there with her.
Yeah.
And they're feeding the queen.
A lot of packed full of royal jelly. So that's good.
Oh yeah. There sure are. Look at that. Jeez.
Those are going to be some nice queens.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you, ladies. Put them back. So like most of the time we'll have 200 to 300 cells going at least at a time. And as the season picks up, it'll be, we try not to run these too ragged, but there's usually about 40 cell builders that are in use, but only probably 8 to 12 at a time, depending on where we're at in the season. Right now, there's so many cool stories about the queens and what they've done, where they've come from, but the work that they'll do. What's neat about this is in these little areas here is kind of like the very best of us all these years that we've blended the different genetic lines with. What's cool is, for me, I geek out on little things like the best of these queens. Me and Susie and the kids, we're out here getting the cell builders ready. We're feeding them. We're dropping the cells. We're maintaining all those cells. As you get and tour the farm, you get to see the landscape that these bees are being raised in. But it's also a piece of us, a little piece of our family's legacy that we get to send all across the country for other folks to make an impact in their apiary. And to me, that's the really cool thing, is to be able to make an impact and make a positive difference for somebody, even if it's one queen going to California, or if it's 80, going to New Hampshire. Either way, it's a blessing to be able to be a part of someone's apiary, and for them to trust in what we're doing here and want a piece of that for their bee yard is pretty cool. But as you can see, we're in a yard of cell builders, where we're intentionally putting them through the ringer of being queenless, being queen right, queenless, queen right.
Very populated.
Very, very populated.
Like crowded.
And, and they're really easy to get along with, as you can see.
Yeah.
That's
I do have a veil on, but none of them are, I mean, I don't go out in I can go up to my hives. I just don't go into them without a jacket.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is cool.
today's a big day for a lot of these. There's a lot of extra brood hatches out. A lot of orientation flights going on today. It's a nice warm day. But this is one of my favorite spots because we can, when we stand back and then just look at all the bees with the pine as the background, as the black or the dark background, I can just sit here forever and just watch them and watch them and watch them. It's also cool because you can watch and all of a sudden see the orientation flights, because all of a sudden you'll see a little blustery fluster of bees kind of orienting in each little spot, and I can sit here all day and kind of watch them do that. But this is one of my favorite little spots just because so much happens.
It is kind of cool. Very cool.
I'll take you up here on the next hill there, and you get an idea of the drone areas and how we saturate kind of those. Across the horizon, you would see a ridge, and you would never know what was beyond that ridge. You had no idea what that had to do with you. And then it's only been a couple years, but this whole farm came up for auction, and we thought there's no way that was obtainable, but God made a way, and here we are on this 102 acres. And I had no idea what was on over here, or what it meant for our family or for our future. But this farm is perfectly set up, that its shape and the acreage, that and our old farm and homestead, where when we look, we can go a half a mile to the top of that ridge, still be on our property, and we can set and put our drones, heavily saturate our drones on that north hill. We can go all the way to the east on that end of the property and put our drone congregations. We can go to the west side down by the barns, and then we can go to the south ridge where the old farm is at, and we can intentionally set the genetics and the drones that we want a half a mile in all directions of where we shoot out most of our queens. No matter which direction that they go, we have the drones that we want staged. And I think that's why our queens end up doing so well, is they have so many fantastic opportunities for not only the mating flights, but they have the diversity with all the drones in those different areas. To me, I think that that's really cool. And I think sometimes we might even get a little bit of a wild card. And we'll show you, I got a couple swarms that we caught set up down here in jester boxes. We're the only beekeepers really in this area, and the only folks that have bees in this area. They've gotten our bees from us, but even they are outside of the bee flight radiuses. Within the 102 acres that we're stewarding, there's another 1,000 acres surrounding that are heavily forested, woodland, ravines, creeks, lakes, state ground. So I think we end up having a lot of sometimes even wild card genetics, whatever's been out here in these trees, that could probably go either way. But what we keep seeing is our stock keeps getting better and better and better and better, especially when we bring that diversity in. So when we're working with the Caucasians and the Carnies, those lines that we brought in just blended with what we've had here over the years. Each of those lines were great by themselves, but not hybrid vigor created what we're seeing now, what we call these Appalachian mutts. Some folks will have them as Pepto Pinks. It's just something magical has happened special between when those two lines crossed, where 1 and 1 equals 3. So it's pretty cool to be out here on a piece of land where the land itself is set up and designed for queen rearing and queen mating, and to be able to live and work in a situation like this is pretty cool. I don't know if we're standing around here too long, but looks like the turkey birds think we're lunch.
The turkey buzzards. Yeah, I think it was just a whole bunch of orientation flies, but they sure look like they were going in a pattern back there.
When you
I was like, holy cow.
At an angle and you look, it almost looks like it's a cyclone. But when you get out in front, you can see each one doing their own
little thing.
This is one of my favorite spots here. This is where I go to church every single morning. When I get out here and start cracking lids at 8 o'clock in the morning, usually last year she was here every single morning. But I had a little red-tailed hawk, and she'll go from tree to tree to tree and just kind of watch and squawk, and I absolutely loved her to pieces. She raised a little, whatever you call a baby hawk. She raised a little youngling up, and I haven't quite seen her yet this year. I hope she comes back and does it again, because I enjoy
her nest can't be very far from here if she was going from tree to tree to tree.
Yeah, I think her nest was down in here, because whenever we would come down, I would see her come out of these trees and then just kind of watch, and then she would follow me along as I went all the way down the ridge.
Oh, wow.
And then later in the year, we'll have nukes mating boxes all around this edge. This whole thing is littered and covered with mating boxes, and she'll just follow me. I thought that was pretty cool, but this is a pretty neat spot to be in.
This is beautiful.
Yeah.
I love the dead trees. I think it's just...
It adds some character to it.
It adds character.
You know, it's also a reminder, too, that nothing lasts forever. Not a single tree, not a single one of us, but what came through here was a pine blight after these trees were planted.
Oh, wow.
And so, luckily for us, we have a sawmill, so as long as the wood is good, a lot of them are still great to saw, and they have some spalting and some mineral streaks and things, so it could make some pretty wood. Mostly pine, of course, but this is where Jake was mowing and said, hey, we got these swarms in the autumn olives. Let's go over here and take a look and see what these ones are doing.
Well, they're making themselves at home. Here.
So this was that massive swarm fail, where I decided to take the Sawzall in here and cut the limb, and all the bees fall
on the ground.
There. I'm gonna hopefully put that video out and you can see. And I'm thinking, oh great, that's hilarious. But what I did is I had some extra frames, and I was kind of joking around and said, I'll just use some Premier Bee foundation to save the day. What I did is I put some foundation on right inside of here, and as soon as I put that in there, a light switch turned on, and the bees just started bum rushing those frames, and we're looking. And I guess you'll have to watch the rest of the video to see what happened, but that was pretty cool. Not a super big swarm, probably about a 2.5, 3 pound frame.
Framer, yeah.
Yeah, but what I did is I always have a queen cage in my pocket. They're actually starting to draw that out. I just kind of, I put her in with some candy, got her marked. Wow, they ate that out that quick.
You're like, turn her loose.
They're like 1 day away.
They don't want her in there, do they?
Nope. But one of the things that I'm not a real big fan on swarms is sometimes no matter what you do, you can't keep them in the box. In this situation, though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave her on a candy release and let her do her thing. But very gentle, beautiful bee. Now, what I notice, they're salt and pepper. So these look just like the bees that we raise here with heavy and Caucasian. You can see kind of that gray and black coloration here. I would not be surprised if this isn't lineage from something that swarmed last year on us, overwintered out here in the trees.
Well, they just wanted to come back home.
They wanted to come home. Yep. But she's really pretty. What's interesting with her, we'll have to go back to the video to see, is she has some of the most beautiful coloration on her that is kind of unique, where she has almost, look, if you've ever seen spalting in wood, looking down her tail line, she's a caramel red kind of color, but there's this, I don't know if the camera picks up, there's a spalting where it looks like, now, I don't have the money for a psychologist, and Lord knows I probably need one, but have you ever seen those, like, movies where, like, someone goes to a psychologist and they hold up those cards?
Oh, yeah.
And it's a white card with the black
ink
shapes.
blots, yeah.
Ink blots?
She
looks like she's got an ink blot up her back.
Oh, neat.
It's pretty cool. I'm gonna leave them alone. I'm probably gonna get a bucket feeder, and I'll get a bucket put on them here at some point.
They seem pretty happy in there.
Leave them. Now this one over here, however, was the super big one. I just closed them up. Now I haven't even opened them. So when we crack the lid here, we're gonna see what they think of them. More importantly, I'm gonna see if we can find the queen and
see if she's marked.
Know who the mama is.
There's the baby mama. Oh, they're busy in there. Woo! Hello! Woo! Yikes.
Well, I don't think we're going to find out.
I don't think so. They look like they don't want to stay there.
I don't think they like this edition of swarm catch. Look at that.
Yeah.
Right out of there.
Jeez.
That's pretty cool to be
That's
right in the middle
amazing,
there,
though. Look at that.
That sounds so cool.
That sounds so cool.
There's such an energy when they do that, too. love that's cool. We definitely can't keep them in the box, you know, the
No.
box forever.
Nope. They don't want to
This is
be in the box.
Exactly
They're
one of the
used to
reasons
being
why I
feral.
don't spend a lot of time fooling with them. But let's just happen to see if Mama's running around and she's somehow behind. If so, let me grab a cage just in case. Look at all that nectar that they put in those cells.
Put that in there just today.
That was just in their gut. That's been closed up.
Yep.
Now they were in the shade all morning long. Now the sun's hitting them. They're probably not real happy to be there. Nope, she must have went out with them.
They don't like your accommodations.
I mean, who wouldn't like an old junky jester box that I pulled out of the weeds just to home them in for a day?
Just for them.
Yeah, I guess I could have
That's
put
a pretty good sized swarm.
I wasn't
too.
even prepared for it. I could have probably put some open brood and some feed in there or something, gave them a little more room. But what I will do is I'll open this entrance down here just in case they decide that they made a terrible mistake. And this corrugated plastic home is just the best thing going. Now, let's see where they go.
Where'd they go?
The swarm is here. So right here in the trees. Let's see where they want to hang out today.
Ah, they're right up there, and that they look like they're trying to
Probably go
gather
way
on
too
that
high.
limb right there.
Yeah.
What is it about that sound?
This would be one of those exactly how not to catch a swarm videos, for sure.
You need to put that on that site Stan Gore's got.
Oh,
The
Texas Beekeepers.
yeah.
Yeah, what does he call that? The
Goober.
Goober Award alert.
Yeah.
That was probably, you know, what else are you going to do there? I wasn't even expecting to catch that swarm. Caught it, threw it in a box, was hoping they would settle down and I could take a look tonight. If I would have just opened the entrance last night, they wouldn't have been there this morning.
They've got other plans.
They've got other
Greg.
plans. I don't think. Now look, they're coming down low.
Yeah, I see them.
And they're going back to this autumn olive again.
That autumn olive. Yep.
Let's see if we can get lucky and the queen hits first and we catch the queen. These autumn olives are they're swarm magnets.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they are right here.
They already collecting over there?
Yeah. All right, let's try this
Oh
again.
yeah, there you go.
Let's see. Let's see. I'm gonna go up here to a colony.
Go get a box or
I'm
something.
Gonna grab what should I do? Grab a box or I'm thinking I'm
Or
I'll
grab something
bring
like
open
a
brood, I think, and a frame of food and some frames to stick them in. And see
Yeah.
if they'll maybe stick to that.
yeah.
I'll grab
Get an old brood frame, yeah. So they decided to swarm again, but they're in this autumn olive tree. It's absolutely amazing.